For most of my life, I believed that if you truly valued your family, worked hard, and stayed honest, happiness would naturally follow. For many years, that seemed to be true. I am 50 years old now, my spouse is 47, and together we built what looked like a secure and steady life. But on the day of my son's wedding, everything collapsed. My own wife, my son, and even his bride stood before me and declared they wanted nothing to do with me. To understand how things reached that breaking point, I need to take you back to the beginning. I run a small construction company. In the early days, survival was brutal. I had a passion for building things with my hands, but being a craftsman and running a business are two very different skills. We struggled with sales, management, and marketing. There were times when bankruptcy loomed just around the corner. But I refused to give up. I learned the basics of business operations, created a simple website back when the internet was still young, and pushed myself harder than ever. Slowly, the company gained traction. Eventually, the income grew to a comfortable level, around $200,000 a year. We were stable. It was during those early days, right when the business had finally begun to breathe, that I met my future spouse. The meeting wasn't at a business event or through friends, but in a small neighborhood cafe in a quiet American city. The cafe was cozy, a place where I would often unwind after long hours of work. I enjoyed ordering coffee, sitting by the window, and reading books. It was my way of resetting my am. There, I often noticed a kind barista. She wasn't just someone serving drinks. She had a warm presence. Many customers came to the cafe just to see her smile. She had a youthful energy that lit up the room. Honestly, I thought she was out of my league, but I enjoyed the atmosphere she cr. One evening, as I sat with a novel in hand, she approached me with a bright expression.
Thank you for always coming here. By the way, what book are you reading?
Caught off guard, I smiled. Oh, this? It's just a novel I like. Surprised you're interested. From that single question, conversation bloomed. We discovered a shared love of stories and quickly became friends. Before long, our chats extended beyond the cafe. We began meeting outside, going for walks, grabbing meals together. I learned about her background. She had grown up in a poor family, but carried herself with determination. She wanted more out of life, and she worked hard for it. I admired that spirit. Within a year, our bond grew so strong that we decided to marry. The following year, we were blessed with a son. I remember holding him in my arms for the first time and vowing silently, I will always protect this family. I will make sure they never lack anything. From then on, I poured every ounce of energy not only into my company, but into my household as well. As the business expanded, our quality of life rose. We moved into a nicer home, upgraded our lifestyle, and enjoyed comforts I never thought possible in those early, uncertain years. I believed we had achieved the perfect balance: a strong business, a loving marriage, and a happy child. Our son, as he grew, seemed kind-hearted and bright. He wasn't spoiled. He was cheerful and honest. I wanted to give him opportunities one never had, so I invested heavily in his upbringing. Vacations, hobbies, the best education we could afford. I made sure he never had to feel the struggles I once endured. But looking back now, perhaps I overcompensated. By prioritizing my family's comfort above all else, I neglected my own hobbies, my own desires. I thought sacrificing myself was the path to keeping them happy. Yet, in time, that very sacrifice may have been what planted the seeds of coldness in their hearts. At that stage, though, I couldn't see the cracks forming. I was only proud of my wife, proud of my son, proud of the home we had built. I thought I had succeeded. I thought nothing could take it away. I was wrong. For many years, our household felt steady. My spouse enjoyed the better lifestyle our hard work had created, and my son seemed to be growing into a kind, bright young man. I felt secure in the thought that all my sacrifices had been worthwhile. But everything began to shift as my son reached his later high school years. It was subtle at first, a sharper tone in his voice, a dismissive shrug when others struggled. But soon it became clear. He was becoming overly rational, almost mechanical, in the way he saw the world. He looked at people not with empathy, but with cold judgment, as if life could be reduced to numbers and efficiency. One evening, I overheard him talking with a friend. His words froze me.
People fail because they're weak. If they tried harder, they wouldn't be in that position. The world doesn't need excuses.
I stepped in immediately, unable to stay silent. Son, that's not how life works. Everyone has different circumstances. Cutting people off without trying to understand them is cruel. He smirked, eyes sharp.
Cruel? No. Efficient. If you were more efficient, you'd be earning even more by now.
The words hit me harder than I expected. They weren't just arrogant. They carried disdain, directed at me, the father who had worked himself to exhaustion to provide for him. I let the moment pass but confided in my spouse later, hoping for some support. Our son, what do you think about the way he talks? Doesn't it sound cold? Instead of understanding, I was met with a cutting reply.
He's right. You could be making much more money. We could be living better. Why aren't you?
I stared, stunned. So you really believe that?
Of course. I want a better life. Don't you?
There was no softness in her tone, no recognition of the sacrifices I had already made. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, realizing something I hadn't wanted to admit. The very people I had given everything for were no longer satisfied. They looked at me not with gratitude, but with disappointment. Still, I told myself it was a phase. My son was young, and my spouse, maybe she was frustrated. So I endured in silence. Years passed. My son entered college and began dating a girl I'll call the gentle one. She was kind, polite, and carried a quiet strength. Every time I spoke with her, I felt relief. She seemed to balance out my son's cold logic. They dated for years, and I truly believed she would become his wife one day. Because of her, I began saving for a wedding. I imagined the day I would walk into a hall, proud to see my son standing beside someone who embodied kindness and grace. I thought, as long as she's with him, maybe he'll learn empathy. But that dream shattered the day my son casually walked into the living room and made an announcement that nearly knocked the breath out of me.
I broke up with her.
I stared at him, heart sinking. What? Why would you end it with such a wonderful person? He shrugged, as though it were nothing.
Because I got bored. She's too plain, too serious. I'm done.
Anger surged inside me. Bored? You spent years with her. Why string her along if that's how you felt? He leaned back, his voice dripping with arrogance.
When the feelings are gone, you leave. That's efficiency.
Before I could speak further, my spouse stepped in, arms folded across her chest.
Don't waste energy worrying. Our son is right. If you care about every little feeling, you'll never get ahead in life.
I clenched my fists. There are things in life you can't reduce to calculations. Kindness matters. Man, 50, character 1. My son laughed, turning away.
You'll never understand. That's why you're stuck at your level.
My spouse nodded in agreement. Her eyes filled not with warmth, but with contempt. In that moment, I felt more alone in my own home than ever before. And yet, I had no idea that this was only the beginning. That soon, they would take their coldness to a level I never thought possible. Not long after my son ended his long relationship, the truth of why came out. At first, I thought maybe it was just youthful impulsiveness, but the real reason cut much deeper. One night, while I was still trying to process the breakup, my son revealed the truth with a smirk.
I found someone new. She's exciting, flashy. Way better than the boring one.
My heart sank. New? Already? You ended things with her so you could chase someone else.
Of course. Why waste time? The new one is outgoing, popular. She's got influence online. That's the kind of person I should be with.
The words stung, but worse was the way he said them, like a businessman trading stock. And then, as if on cue, my spouse chimed in.
She's right for him. This girl is ambitious, stylish, and knows how to make money. She'll raise his status. That's what matters.
I clenched my teeth. What about loyalty? About the years he spent with someone who actually cared for him? My son waved me off, irritation flickering in his eyes.
Don't be naive. That girl was too serious, too small-minded. This new one knows how to live big. That's what I need. That's what we need.
It was then that I realized my spouse and son were united in this belief, that life was only about chasing bigger wealth, greater attention, louder status. The new one soon made her entrance into our home. She was indeed striking, expensive clothes, heavy makeup, the kind of presence designed for cameras. She introduced herself confidently, as if she already belonged at the center of attention. She was a social media influencer, eager to flaunt her image, to film everything, to turn life itself into a stage. From the moment she stepped into our lives, I knew something was wrong. I tried to confront my son. Are you serious about her? Is this really the person you want as your partner? He met my eyes without shame.
Yes, we're already making plans.
Plans? The word chilled me. He was still technically entangled with his ex when this new relationship had begun. I raised my voice. You were still with your longtime girlfriend while you started seeing this one.
That's called being smart. Why risk everything on one option? I kept my choices open.
It's already decided. He'll marry this girl. Don't interfere. Just keep working and earning. That's all you're good for.
The words slammed into me like a hammer. For years, I thought I had been building something stable, something worth protecting. Instead, the people closest to me saw me as nothing more than a wallet, a tool. From then on, I stopped arguing. I watched. I listened. And I began to notice signs, secretive whispers, sudden expenses, a hunger in their eyes that had nothing to do with love or family. I knew they were planning something. I didn't yet know what, but I could feel it in my bones. And as the day of the wedding crept closer, that feeling grew stronger, until the truth finally revealed itself in the most public, humiliating way possible. The announcement of my son's wedding came suddenly, as though it had been arranged behind closed doors long before anyone told me. There was no discussion, no excitement shared as a family. It was simply presented as a fact.
We're getting married. The date is already set.
I blinked in disbelief. Already? When did you even decide this? My spouse quickly intervened, her tone sharp and final.
Don't question it. Just make sure the financial side is covered. That's your role.
Her words hit me like ice. A father is supposed to be part of planning, supposed to share the joy, but here I was reduced to nothing more than a bank account. Still, I tried to convince myself that weddings can be stressful, that maybe once the day arrived, things would feel different. I poured money into preparations, venue deposits, catering, decorations, all without complaint. I had saved for years in anticipation of my son's marriage, though I always thought that money would be for the kind-hearted girl he had left behind. Now, every dollar was going toward this flashy event designed for show. But the more I watched, the more uneasy I felt. The bride-to-be, this influencer, was less interested in family or tradition and more obsessed with appearances. She toured the venue not to admire its architecture, but to check lighting angles for her videos. She spoke not of building a home with my son, but of brand deals, followers, and going viral. One evening, as I came home late from work, I overheard a conversation that confirmed my fears.
Once the wedding goes viral, we'll get sponsorships. This is the smartest investment yet. Exactly. With me by your side, our status will skyrocket. Unlike the boring girl before, I can give you everything.
And Dad will pay for it all. He always does.
A bitter laugh followed. My heart pounded in my chest. I stood frozen in the hallway, realizing they weren't planning a marriage, they were planning a show. And I was financing the entire performance. I confided in my spouse, hoping to at least open her eyes. Do you not see what's happening? This girl doesn't love him. She's using him. But she folded her arms, her gaze cold.
Even if she is, at least she's ambitious. She'll bring us money and attention. That's better than settling for a simple, quiet life.
Her words twisted in my chest. Better than a simple life? That simple life was the very one I fought to build for them, brick by brick. In that moment, I knew I was alone. My son and my spouse had already chosen their path. And on the wedding day, when the spotlight was brightest, they intended to push me out completely. I didn't yet know the exact shape of their plan, but I knew this much. Something devastating was coming. And I began preparing in silence, gathering evidence, holding on to my resolve. If they wanted to disgrace me, they would not find me defenseless. The day of the wedding arrived with all the grandeur money could buy. The venue was a historic hall in Europe, its stone walls lined with flowers and velvet drapes, a string quartet filling the air with elegant notes. Guests whispered in admiration as they took their seats. I sat quietly among them, my heart heavy. This should have been the proudest day of my life, yet a storm churned inside me. When my son entered with his bride, The room erupted in applause. She was dressed extravagantly, every detail carefully chosen for the camera, her smile rehearsed, her gestures sharp, as though each one was a performance for an unseen audience. I could barely recognize my son beside her, standing tall with a smugness that didn't belong to the boy I once raised. As the ceremony reached its peak, my son, his new bride, and my spouse stepped forward together. Something about their formation made my chest tighten. Then, in front of everyone, my son turned to me with a chillingly calm voice.
Father, today isn't just my wedding day. Today is the day we cut ties with you.
Gasps echoed through the hall. My spouse raised her chin high, adding her own words.
That's right. We're done with you. And you know the reason better than anyone.
The bride smirked and stepped closer to the microphone.
And don't think you'll get away without consequences. We'll be taking compensation for your betrayal.
My blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Then, as if on cue, a massive screen flickered to life. The image displayed was of me sitting at a restaurant table with the young woman my son had abandoned. Her eyes were red from tears, my body leaning forward to comfort her. The hall filled with shocked murmurs. Guests turned their eyes on me with suspicion, judgment heavy in the air. The bride raised her phone, recording everything, her voice dripping with triumph.
Look at him, meeting secretly with his son's ex. Everyone remember this face. This is the kind of man he really is.
You disgraced me. You stole from me. Take responsibility.
You've finally been exposed. No excuses will save you now.
Around me, the guests whispered louder, some covering their mouths, others pulling out phones to record. My name, my reputation, my dignity. They thought they had buried it all with one photo. But what they didn't realize was that I had come prepared. For weeks, I had suspected a trap. For weeks, I had collected proof. They believed this would be my downfall. But this was only the beginning. I stepped forward, gripping the microphone, and let my voice carry through the hall. Yes, that picture is real. The audience froze. Confusion spread. My son smirked, thinking he had won.
Then you admit it.
Game over, old man. You can't talk your way out of this.
I steadied my breath, ready to turn the entire trap against them. The hall was buzzing like a hive, full of whispers and judgmental stares. Phones were raised, recording my supposed disgrace. My son and spouse stood tall, believing victory was theirs. The bride, the influencer, filmed herself smiling, convinced this moment would explode online. I raised the microphone again and allowed a faint smile to touch my lips. Yes, the photo is real. I was there with her. But the story you've been told is not. The guests shifted uneasily, confused. My son pressed forward, desperate to seal my downfall.
Don't try to twist this. Everyone can see what you did. A late-night meeting with my ex? Stop lying.
Exactly. You think anyone here believes you? Please. We all know what this looks like. Just admit you're guilty and prepare to pay.
There's no way out. This is who you really are. We'll make sure everyone knows.
I sighed, then slipped my hand into my jacket pocket. The weight of my phone pressed against my palm like a secret weapon. You're right about one thing. Everyone deserves to know the truth. I tapped play. From the speakers, their own voices spilled into the room. Clear, undeniable, venomous.
She's plain. Boring. I dumped her because I got tired. That's all.
That's good. Do as I say, and we'll make money together.
We'll fabricate proof and ruin him. Then we'll take compensation.
The sound cut through the hall like a blade. Silence followed, thick and suffocating. My son's face drained of color. My spouse staggered back, her hand trembling. The bride froze, her eyes narrowing, calculating an escape. Guests gasped, some covering their mouths, others muttering in shock. The evidence was clear. This had all been a setup. The photo wasn't proof of infidelity. It was bait in a trap. My son stammered, voice cracking.
This isn't real. You faked it.
But his panic only betrayed him further. The bride tried to maintain composure, flicking her hair as though she still held power.
So what? Even if it's true, no one cares. I'll spin the story. My followers will believe me over you.
But the hall wasn't with her anymore. The audience turned, eyes burning with anger, phones still recording, but now aimed at her at them. I lowered the phone and let the silence settle before I spoke. You tried to disgrace me. You forgot I know who you are. And now, so does everyone else. The bride's smile finally cracked. My son's knees buckled. My spouse covered her face, shaking her head as though denying reality. The trap they set for me had just snapped shut on them instead. And yet, this was only the beginning of their unraveling. The recording echoed in every corner of the hall, leaving no room for denial. Gasps turned to murmurs, murmurs to outrage. Guests who had once looked at me with suspicion now turned their eyes on my son, my spouse, and the influencer bride. My son's face twisted in panic. He stumbled forward, grabbing the mic stand as if it could anchor him.
This is fake. He set us up. Don't believe it.
But his trembling voice only betrayed him further. The influencer exhaled sharply, tossing her hair, trying to salvage her image.
Pathetic. So, what if we plotted? That doesn't change what people saw. I'll spin this online, and my followers will crush you.
Her arrogance cracked, though, when the audience began raising their own phones, not to record me, but to capture her. She was no longer in control of the narrative. My spouse, pale and sweating, clutched her chest.
No, this wasn't supposed to happen. You ruined everything. We were supposed to rise together.
Her words dissolved into sobs, and she collapsed onto her knees, mascara streaking down her cheeks. For years she had demanded more money, more status, more luxury, and now all of it was gone in an instant. The influencer glanced between them with disdain, then coldly turned her back.
Bye. I'm done here. You're useless now.
Wait, don't leave me.
He reached out desperately, but she shook him off.
I never loved you. I loved the money, the exposure. That's all.
With a cruel smile, she strutted toward the exit, confident she could still rebuild elsewhere. But just as she neared the doors, a clear voice rang out from the back of the hall.
I will never forgive you.
The room froze. Every head turned. It was her, the ex my son had discarded. She stood tall, clutching her phone, eyes burning with resolve. The influencer scoffed.
Oh, please. You again? What can a plain little nobody like you possibly do?
The young woman didn't flinch. She stepped forward, raising her phone high.
Everything you've said here, your mockery, your lies, your confession, it's already live. Thousands are watching right now.
The hall erupted with shock. The influencer's confident smirk shattered. She lunged forward, trying to snatch the device, but it was too late. Comments and notifications flooded the screen, streams of outrage pouring in. The young woman's voice trembled but remained firm.
You tried to ruin a good man's life. You used my heartbreak, my pain, as a tool. And you thought you could walk away untouched. But everyone now sees you for what you are.
The audience began to clap. First a few, then a wave of applause that filled the hall. People stood, some even cheering. The influencer's face twisted into rage. My son fell to his knees, sobbing. My spouse remained collapsed, whispering to herself, broken. And I stood there, microphone still in hand, realizing something powerful. It wasn't me who truly delivered justice. It was the young woman my son had thrown aside, the one who, in the end, stood taller than all of them. The wedding ended not in celebration, but in disgrace. Guests left whispering, shaking their heads at the scandal they had just witnessed. Some patted me on the back as they exited, offering words of sympathy. Others glared at my son, my spouse, and the influencer with disgust. The hall, once filled with music and laughter, now echoed only with shame. After the event, everything unraveled quickly. The influencer's downfall was swift and merciless. The live stream spread like wildfire. Clips of her mocking, plotting, and admitting her schemes flooded social media. Sponsors cut ties immediately. Her accounts were flooded with angry comments, and videos of her arrogance went viral worldwide. She had built her identity on image, and now that image was shattered beyond repair. A few months later, I happened to see her on the street near a psychiatric clinic. She was thin, her face hollow, her once perfect hair unkempt. She muttered to herself, clutching a worn handbag. The confident influencer who had boasted of wealth and fame was gone, replaced by a broken shell. She vanished from public view soon after. My spouse's collapse was slower, but just as complete. For years, she had depended entirely on me financially. Once I cut ties, she had no income, no career, no savings of her own. She begged at first, tears, apologies, promises to change.
Please, let's start over. We can fix this. I was wrong. I'll do better.
I looked down at her, my voice calm but firm. Tell me, what benefit would I get from starting over with someone who betrayed me? She opened her mouth, but no words came. She couldn't answer because the truth was obvious. There was nothing left to rebuild. After our divorce, she had nowhere to go. I heard rumors she drifted between relatives, then shelters, then nowhere at all. Once, I spotted her sitting on a sidewalk, clothes ragged, muttering about becoming rich again someday. The woman who once demanded more and more had nothing. And my son, he never recovered. The betrayal from the influencer destroyed him. The arrogance, the bravado, the belief in efficiency, all gone. He became fearful, distrustful of women, unable to form relationships. He isolated himself, ashamed, hollow. Where once he looked down on others, now he could barely look anyone in the eye. I should have felt vindicated. After all, they got what they deserved. But standing there, seeing the ruins of my family, I didn't feel triumph. I felt sorrow, not for the choices they made, but for how far they had fallen, for how much they had thrown away in pursuit of greed and vanity. Yet, in that darkness, there was one light. The young woman my son had discarded, the one who stood up for me at the wedding, remained in contact. She called occasionally, sometimes just to ask how I was doing, other times to share how her day went. Each time, her voice carried a sincerity that I had forgotten existed in my own household. At first, I thought she was simply being polite. But as weeks turned into months, her calls became a lifeline. After the chaos of the wedding and the destruction of my household, I tried to focus only on work. My company, though shaken, remained solid. But when I returned home at night, the silence was heavy. Years of sacrifice for my family had left me with nothing but empty rooms. And then came the calls. At first, the young woman reached out hesitantly, her voice soft.
Sorry to bother you. I just wanted to see how you're holding up.
I reassured her, but deep down I was grateful. Those conversations became more frequent. Sometimes she told me about her day, her classes, her hobbies, the new books she was reading. Other times she simply asked if I had eaten. Small gestures, yet they carried a warmth I had long forgotten. One evening, she insisted on meeting. We chose a quiet restaurant far from the chaos of the city. She ordered her favorite apple juice, the same drink she had enjoyed when she visited our home in happier times. Watching her smile faintly as she lifted the glass brought back memories, not of my son, but of her steady kindness. After the meal, she lowered her eyes, gathering courage.
I know this may sound strange, but I feel more comfortable with you than with anyone else. You've always treated me with respect, even when I was discarded.
You're young. You deserve someone closer to your age, someone who can give you a fresh start. I'm old enough to be your father.
No. What I deserve is someone who sees me, who values me. You did that when no one else would. I don't care about age. I care about honesty.
Her words struck me harder than any accusation I had faced. For so long, I had been treated as a tool, a provider, a wallet, never a man. And here she was, seeing me as a person. I leaned back, struggling to find the right response. I never expected this. I never planned it. But if you're certain, then I won't run away from it. I promise you this. If we walk this path, I'll treat you with the care you deserve. Her eyes welled with tears, but this time they weren't tears of heartbreak. They were tears of relief. She smiled, trembling but radiant. That night, as we walked out under the streetlights, I realized something profound. Happiness isn't about money, status, or appearances. It's about the sincerity of the person walking beside you. For the first time in years, I felt hope. Time passed, and the shadows of the wedding scandal slowly faded from public memory. But for me, the lessons remained carved deep. My spouse drifted into obscurity, her obsession with wealth leaving her broken and penniless. My son lived in isolation, his arrogance turned to shame, unable to face others after being deceived by the very person he thought would elevate him. And the influencer? Her name became a cautionary tale online, once chasing fame, now erased by the very platform that once fed her. I, however, found something unexpected. Or rather, someone. The young woman my son had discarded remained by my side. She didn't bring promises of riches or fame. She brought peace. She reminded me that loyalty and kindness still exist, that honesty outshines any false glitter of status. One evening, as we sat together on a quiet park bench, she placed her hand over mine.
Life is strange, isn't it? I lost everything that day, but I also found something I never expected.
I squeezed her hand gently, my voice low. Yes, life can be cruel, but it can also be generous. What matters is who stands beside you when the world collapses. She leaned her head against my shoulder, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel alone. Looking back, I realized money, status, and influence are illusions. They disappear like smoke. What endures is character, how you treat those around you, how you face betrayal, and how you rise again. My family turned against me for greed, but in doing so, they revealed who they truly were. And the one my son discarded showed the world her courage, and showed me that healing is possible. So, if there's one message I leave behind, it's this. Protect your heart from those blinded by greed, and never underestimate the quiet strength of someone sincere.